All right, this video, I'm going to try to respond to some of your questions and then also give you some idea of the categorical imperative, part 2 of your reading assignment. I think it's due later on tonight for you guys at Dixie State. For you guys at Prairie State who might be listening in on this, we've already finished Kant, so this is just review for you all. And hopefully you guys have mostly, at both schools, already done much of the reading of this section. So first though, I want to answer some of the questions. Some of you asked questions about pathological love versus rational love or something like that. And look, the issue there, Kant is saying, if you do something nice for someone because you love them and you just happen to feel that way, that's not true moral worth, right? It has to be rational. It has to be decided on and chosen and done for the sake of duty, not because of your pathology. That is just because you happen to feel this way by nature. You were born with it, or you were moved by it in a passive kind of way. You have to choose it. It has to be active. Let's see. Some of you asked, what is the formulation of the categorical imperative? We'll get to that in a minute. What is a command? A command is just a thou shalt. It's what you have to do, right? Some of you asked, what's the difference between goodwill, reason, and happiness? Goodwill is feeling good, feeling like you want things to go well for others, right? It's putting others and their needs as a foremost objective in your mind. You're wanting what is best for them. Reason is mathematical logic, right? It's limiting yourself to objects of the mind and the interactions and the laws that govern objects of the mind. Mathematical numbers, for instance, is a great example of reason. Third thing, happiness. Reason will not always bring you happiness. If so, we would have thought through the problem and solved the problem of how to get happy. But reason will make you worthy of happiness. That's the issue there. Somebody asked about why is there only one organ that is the best organ for its end. Kant here is just looking at nature and saying in nature, essentially everything develops to be a part of a larger whole. So everything is given for a reason, right? God didn't make us for no reason at all. He made every part of us to contribute to some overall aim. Therefore, if every organ in your body contributes to the health of the whole body, so also then every attribute we've been given as mankind benefits somehow the overall picture of our lives. So the question is, why do we have reason? And the answer is because reason is there to help us develop a good will. That's the purpose of it. It's not to make us happy. Practical love versus pathological love. Michael Hinckley, you asked this one, and I think somebody else did also. Practical love and pathological love, the difference is practical love is something real and active. It's what you do. Pathological love is something you're just born with and you have. And practical love, you should choose. Pathological love is just a passive experience. Let's see, Sam Jameson, you wanted me to drop a diagram or an outline. I'm not going to do that. That's way too much work for me to do. However, I will continue to try to clarify as much as I can. You should be able to find things like that. Maybe if you Google outline of Kant's Grounding for the Metaphysics of Morals, you will find that somebody's probably already done that. One thing about Kant is he's very systematic, and so he wouldn't be that difficult to do an outline of. I'm just not going to do that for you, but you certainly could do that some. And I will also take your other, you asked for me to point out where I am in the book when I make explanations, and to the extent that I can do that, I will. Let's see, any other important questions? Kant means by reason math. Yeah, it's impossible to know whether somebody actually has a good will. Somebody asked, is it possible to know whether someone has a good will or not? And the answer is no, you really won't ever know that. Not even in yourself, but you can try and you can do better or worse at getting it. Let's see, somebody asked, what are some good ideas that will help us to grasp the reading more fully? One way to do it is you read it, listen to my lectures, read it again. I would Google it, look for outlines, do the study guides, Talk with others if you want to. If you find other people in the class, talk with them about it. I don't know what else you could do. Reread it and reread it and reread it. That's kind of the short answer. Somebody asked, what do I do in order to understand these things? And the answer is that I just read them, and I think about them as I read, and it takes a little more time than reading a comic book or a novel or a youth, fiction or something, but it generally, if it's good philosophy, it's worth doing. Another, what is the categorical imperative? We'll talk about that in just a minute. All right, I think that was all of them from one of the classes, so I'm going to go ahead and just spend some time now explaining Kant again. So the categorical imperative is Kant's answer to what is my duty. So I think I left you with the last video where the central question becomes, what is my duty? Because we have these 4 cases of actions and duties, which you should keep in mind. There's not doing your duty at all, doesn't tell us anything about a good will. There's doing your duty with immediate inclination, and there's doing your duty without immediate inclination. In both of those cases, you're doing what is right, but you're not doing it for the right maxim or the right motive. You don't have the right reason for doing it, and therefore it doesn't have true moral worth. The 4th case, which is doing your duty for duty's sake, has true moral worth. So there are 3 principles that come out of that. 1, the first principle is, in order for an action to have true moral worth, it must be done for duty's sake. 2, the reason then that something is good or has true moral worth is because of the maxim or the reason for doing it. Right? And then 3rd, that maxim must contain a notion of respect for law. Respect for the law as law, just as an ought to do, right? So Kant launches from that into the basic formulation of the categorical imperative, which is this. It's on page, let me see if I can give you the exact page number for it. Page 493, first column, it's all in italics. I'll quickly explain then the notion of a command or an imperative. So an imperative, the categorical imperative, is an imperative, which just means it's a command, right? It's the grammatical form of, like, if I say sit, that's the imperative form of the verb to sit. And it's just a command. It's telling you what to do. You do this. Sit, right? So there are 2 kinds of imperatives for Kant. One are hypothetical imperatives. Hypothetical imperatives tell you to do something in order to get something else. So do your homework in order to get a good grade. That's do X to get Y, right? It's a hypothetical imperative because it tells you to do something and it ties it to something else available to you. It's an if you do this, then you'll get that. That's the form of a hypothetical statement. If this, then that, right? If you clean your room, then you can have ice cream. If you clean your room, then you can go play with your friends. Those are hypothetical commands. They're telling you clean your room in order to get something. If you are a good person and you follow all the 10 commandments, then you will go to heaven. That's a hypothetical commandment. If you lie, then you will go to hell. That's a hypothetical imperative, right? It's telling you what to do and tying it together with something, reason why you should do it. Categorical imperatives, on the other hand, do not give you a then. It's just do. Do X. Do X for the sake of X. Now, Kant thinks that the obligation of a law, which is everywhere universally applied, the notion of that something could be universally applied requires great respect. When you have respect for the notion of universality, that all things everywhere will function according to a basic order, that is close to getting a good will, right? You have at least done this. You have removed, when you think about things from a universal perspective, you've removed the tendency to think of things from your own particular perspective. So we have 2 ways of thinking about things, universally and particularly. And Kant would say when we think about things universally, we have removed ourselves, the dear self, our particular selves, from the equation. 1 second.